Hello and welcome back to our Save a Seat series here on Patreon, where we dig deeper with our contributors. We are continuing our Issue 10 Influence Contributor Chat series. So this is a special episode. We have been sitting down with the contributors who wrote articles, took pictures for their pieces, different contributor chats. If you've been with us for a while, you know, we find out how those pieces got started, how they were written, how they were curated, and how they ended up in the issue. But today I am talking to two nonprofit professionals that were both featured in issue 10 Influence, which is very meaningful because the theme of Influence is all about what are we doing for our communities? How are we giving back? What kind of influence do we have on the people around us? And how can that influence show itself over time? And both of the women that have joined me today are doing amazing work in their communities to foster change and growth and bridge gaps in education for young people. So thank you both so much for joining me again on our Patreon series.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're so happy to have you back. For our listeners who may not have listened to our Spotify episode, I'm going to have you reintroduce yourselves, and I will start with you, Lillian. Tell us who you are and what you do.
My name is Lillian Barkis. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Listen to Our Future. We are a grassroots organization that provides educational support for students through high dosage tutoring and project-based learning. And so I run our day-to-day operations, launch out programming, do all the fun stuff.
Absolutely. I mean, it sounds amazing. I love a good project. So project-based learning, I'm like, can I come?
Yeah.
All right. How about you, Monica?
Yeah, my name is Monica Casillas. I am the founder and executive director of A More Movement. We are a nonprofit organization igniting the passion and leadership potential of Latinas in high school by shattering the generational cycles that impact their lives. We're dedicated to equipping these future leaders with essential life skills, professional development, and civic engagement opportunities so they can break barriers and create the life of their dreams. When I am not working on a more movement stuff, I am spending time with my three kids who are getting ready to embark on new uh, cycles of their life, going to college, going to high school, and then in middle school. So it's just been a very fun time right now in my household.
Yeah. And I'm sure they get some of those benefits of you having, resources and an education in bridging those gaps for them as well. They're kind of Nepo babies in that way.
Yeah, I tell them they're like my little guinea pigs. I put each of them through the program and everything that I discover.
How could you not? So you mentioned civic engagement, community involvement, and that is a great segue into my first question on our Dig Deeper episode today. We here at More, we have a mission of making opportunities reachable for everyone and uplifting marginalized voices, telling the stories that may not be told otherwise, and featuring nonprofits like you that are doing such great work for the community, specifically the greater Indianapolis area. And I want to hear from you guys how you think that your nonprofit aligns with this mission of, engaging people with the community, giving people those skills to then pull a seat up for other people as well. So we'll start with you, Lily, and tell us a little bit about, the gaps that you're bridging, right?
Yes. So, in the podcast episode, I mentioned how I'm a former educator. I taught in IPS, and my first year of teaching was COVID, and I learned a lot from that experience. The year after I went back into the classroom, I actually ended up teaching for a total of 3 years. And then spring of 2022, I had left the classroom. But when we were originally starting, right, school had just shut down. Summer schools were trying to decide whether they were going to go back. But not only during that time of dealing with the global pandemic, we were also, people call it the racial reckoning. I think that's a really interesting name. Like, I don't really think it was a reckoning for the people who live these type of experiences and are constantly like worried about, getting stopped by police, getting, eh, so many things.
Right.
So I think it's like really interesting to call it a reckoning. And when I was in 8th grade, that was actually the year that Trayvon Martin was killed. And so as an 8th grader, I remember watching TV and thinking, why, how, like what is going on? And then to see him, to see George Zimmerman get away with that, that was really, really heartbreaking, not just like for me as a young person, but also just like for all of the people that I knew. We could have easily been that same child. And then for it to go fast forward to 2020 and we see the same things happening. Now I'm an adult with the consciousness to say, wait a minute, this isn't what has really changed, right? And so, my friends and I, we were attending the different protests, and I actually saw someone at one of the protests spell one of the people who was killed here locally by police. I saw them spell their name wrong,
Mm.
and I was like, "Wait a minute, this isn't okay, right? We're here for a good reason, but we don't have the same understanding, right, of what is
Right.
happening." So we were really thinking about where are our spaces and places for young people to talk about social issues, to learn about social issues, and then for their ideas to be at the forefront of change. And as we were looking around, there really weren't those opportunities. So that's how we came up with Listen to Our Future. And we were going to be utilizing project based learning to get kids to talk about those issues within their communities that they care deeply about, but then also formulating action behind it through a project with
Yeah.
that tangible evidence. And then as we started getting into the work, we really just had to respond to the immediate need of, we're in a global pandemic, kids are not going back to school. And that's when we started our tutoring program. So because we started tutoring, we were able to work with students, and then that just kind of grew after that, as their funding was out there. And now I like to think of it as like we had a strong arm and a weak arm. Our strong arm was tutoring, our weak arm was project-based learning, but now we're kind of balancing those out
Right.
as we continue to grow as an organization. So
Yeah.
that's kind of how we got into it. It
That is not what I was expecting.
One day, like, when I graduate, the week before I graduated, I had someone ask me, "What do you wanna do once you graduate?" And I was like, "What do you mean? I just went to school for 4 years to be a teacher, so I'm gonna
Right.
be a teacher." But as soon as I said that, like, I knew that that wasn't it. That wasn't gonna be the end for me. So I think it's, like, really, it was really a calling on my life from the very beginning. So just to now see it all play out, just continuing to lean into that.
Yeah.